All right, we are back. Thanks for riding with us this morning. We appreciate you. Our second segment this morning is going to talk about an equally concerning issue, and that is the Dreamer website that is teaching illegal immigrants, this is their quote, not mine, how to lie successfully. And I think this kind of goes back to my earlier point about, if this is the society that I'm risking my life for, and I mean that literally, I mean, those of you who are longtime listeners, I'm talking about stuff that most people aren't, and I don't expect for a moment that I'm going to get away with this forever. I mean, at some point, they're going to shut me up. They've already done so to a limited extent locally by, resolving my station home. And so when I think about that, I wonder to myself, is this really what we're fighting for? And then when I see a story like this, I'm equally concerned because it adds to my level of discomfort. If I'm out here taking all this risk and I'm spending money that I I can't really afford. I mean, I work like a Hebrew slave from the time I get off this radio program until it's time to go to bed, basically, and have to pay my own way plus cover the costs of these shows. And I sit here and think, and then I have to pay taxes, of course. And then I think to myself, well, if I'm doing all this to support people who have such a low and debased human nature, then, is it really worth saving, or should we just let it go down the tubes? I mean, it's an open question. And if you want to call me on it, you can. You can give us a call on our hotline. You can call us at 417-204-5141. That's 417-204-5141. I'd like your input on that. When we see a site like this that's saying, if you're an illegal alien and you need to understand how to lie, and this is designed and written for children now. The DREAM Act is not for adults, it's for children. And so what we're doing is we're teaching children how to lie. And I don't know about you, but I'm discouraged by that because it tells me that we are, we're corrupting these kids before they've even had an opportunity to take a deep breath as adolescents. I gotta wonder, and I put this up on Facebook, where is Anonymous when we need him? I mean, where's the hacker community who could go in there and shut a website like this down? Where are you, Anonymous? Really? And the national government is out there prosecuting and imprisoning people, and I did a whole show on this, for teaching other individuals how to pass polygraph tests. And they're literally imprisoning them. And here you've got a website that is openly advocating how to lie. The article is on Breitbart, and I've posted it up on Facebook. I'll include it in this YouTube stream in the comment section. If you're an illegal immigrant worried about being caught, help is only a mouse click away. An article from the radical website dreamactivist.org will give you a quick lesson on how to lie about your status. It's all part of the aggressive pro-illegal immigration dreamer movement, quote unquote, that is leading the fight for comprehensive immigration reform, getting a boost from President Barack Obama and many in Congress. You see, here's part of the thing that I find disturbing about this. The Ten Commandments, one of them is thou shalt not lie. And here we are corrupting and immediately telling children to lie. And they're children. The anonymous author of the article, you notice it's an anonymous author, doesn't have a problem with the fact that they're teaching children to lie. He says he doesn't have a problem with with the fact that illegal aliens are violating the law. He says the problem is that they're just not good at lying. And so he offers some helpful tips. Really? Quote, many undocumented youths conceal their immigration status when faced with potentially awkward questions. But the problem is that they absolutely suck at it. When faced with an instance in which they have to lie, they come up with a myriad of half-hearted excuses that they think up on the spot. In order to help solve the problem of bad lying, this website gives a few tips. Number 1 tip is think up a lie beforehand. And tip number 3 is be consistent about your lie. So create lies that are close to the truth and easy to keep track of. Then think up lies that you know you can be absolutely consistent about and write them down on a notepad if you must. He then throws in a kind of a disclaimer and says, this post is for tips on how to lie only to your friends and acquaintances, and suggests never lying to officials in writing. But then goes on to say, I'd like to take a moment here and stress that not lying does not mean having to reveal the truth. You have the right to remain silent. In fact, do not confess that you're undocumented if you're approached by immigration officials. Know your rights. He goes on to say, I know that it's a bit corruptive to give young people tips on how to lie well. But then he immediately justifies it by saying that illegal immigrants are understandably feel very dispirited. Well, if you rob a bank and you suspect you're going to get caught and you got to live in fear looking over your shoulder, that's a consequence of your actions. And most criminals who live a criminal life and are actually looking over their shoulder for a reason feel very dispirited about it. They have to be careful where they go in public. They have to make sure that, they're not seen by someone. And when they see a cop, they turn and walk the other way, the whole 9 yards. Well, that's why you're dispirited, because your actions have placed you in a position, where you are constantly feeling as if you are in danger. But no one forced you to go rob the bank, nor did anyone force you to cross the border. I got to tell you, I'm this kind of thing is so infuriating to me because of the way in which they're doing this. Tip number 1, think up a lie beforehand. Prepare your answers to questions related to the limitations caused by your immigration status that you know are bound to come up. Don't just come up with a one-sentence answer. Make up a small backstory in case your inquirer asks follow-up questions. There are a variety of universally problematic questions that are asked of undocumented youth by their documented peers, and here are a few of them. Why don't you have a driver's license? Why can't you come overseas with us? Why can't you get federal student loans? Why didn't you take the internship? Why didn't you get a better job? If you are ever asked a question that you don't think to prepare for, have an appropriate default answer handy. Like, I'll tell you later. I don't really want to think about it right now. Try not to dam up or look shadily uncomfortable. Tip 2, imagine that you're not undocumented. Tip number 3, be consistent. Create lies that are close to the truth and easy to keep track of. Think of lies that you know you can be absolutely consistent about. Write them down on a notepad if you must. Don't say that you don't drive because you care about the environment and then get caught not recycling. I mean, not really. Tip 4, deliver your lies well. Pretending that you have some psychological trauma or phobia is usually a great excuse that people tend to accept without question. The problem with it is that you have to be a good actor in order to pull it off. If you don't think that you can convincingly act traumatized at the sight of a steering wheel, don't say that you're scared to drive. You got to be kidding me. Finally, try to be creative and witty in your lying. Doing this would be entirely up to you, not for anybody else. Having to lie to your friends can feel crummy, and being lighthearted about it helps counter that. He says, I know that it's a bit corruptive to give young people tips on how to lie well. However, I also know that this type of situation is what all undocumented youths face. Well, you face it because you are living a lie. And you have guilty conscience and guilty knowledge. Just like the bank robber. Just like the murderer. Just like the rapist. Just like the cheater. You have guilty knowledge. And humankind, when it has guilty knowledge, is challenged by that. A couple of the comments. This is great. Great tips. Thanks, you guys. I aim to please. This is great. I've used some of these lies myself. I'll only lie for employment and to screw over immigration officers. Otherwise, I believe in out and proud. We wonder why our youth sucks. We wonder why they have no integrity. We wonder why all they do is sit around and play video games and waste their time. Why it's all about me, and they're venal, and they are shallow, and all they're interested in is fashion and me. This is why. It's not all that's why, but it's indicative of the problem. And I for one, I'm just discouraged and I'm disgusted. This is the kind of thing that, as far as I'm concerned, just basically tells us everything that we need to know about what's wrong with America. And the whole country's ethics and morals have evaporated. That's the real problem here, folks. The entire country is operating without any ethic, without any moral, without a work ethic. Everybody's lazy. Everybody's looking for something for nothing. Everybody's looking for a way to get over on somebody else. Every corporation is doing it. Have you not noticed all the little hidden fees and we get to shaft you one more time fees that are associated to everything that you do? You get on a plane now, it costs you $100 to take your bag with you. You go into you get your phone bill, and they're whacking you for an extra $1 for this and $2 for that and $4 for this. Or you go pay a city utility bill, and you're 13 seconds late and they hit you for a late fee. Everybody's on the I got to get what I can get. I got to get mine. And I find that so disturbing that it makes me wonder whether or not we don't deserve what we're getting. I guess that's the simplest, I guess that's the simplest way I can put it. To me, this is anathema, and I don't understand. I don't understand how America can succumb to this and feel confident and comfortable moving on and living a life when you know that there's no substance to it. It's all just selfishness and greed and venality and ego. And it's not even good ego. I mean, it's false ego. There's nothing for these people to be proud of. How are you proud of being a degenerate? How are you proud of being a criminal? How are you proud of being a liar, a thief, a corrupted politician? How does that make you proud? There is no pride in it. You use the word pride to cover the fact that you are ashamed and embarrassed and you have no self-esteem in your position, your ethics, and your own moral standing. It's like the guy at the party that laughs too hard and too loud because he's trying to cover up something or make up for the fact that, he just broke up with his girl or whatever the case may be. I tell you, this is a scary place for us to be. And the reason should be clear to all. Even if we were to be able to take back America and turn it back into a constitutional republic, our founders were very clear about the fact that without the concept of a moral and ethical people, this Constitution can't stand. And that's where I have the biggest doubts about what to do and how to preserve this republic. I'm not sure we can. And the reason I say that is because so many people are not qualified to live under this Constitution. By our founders' own statement, if you're not a moral and ethical person, then the Constitution does you no good. You're always seeking a way to get around. And that's, to be honest with you, the way I envision and view almost, the vast majority of people in the nation. Everybody's got a game they're running. Everybody's got a hustle. Whatever happened to just being honest and hardworking and enjoying life? Is it our race for the almighty dollar? Is it the race for he who dies with the most toys wins? I mean, what the heck is it that has turned our entire nation into this shadow of its former self? It's discouraging. And honestly, it's frightening, because if after it's all said and done, and a whole bunch of us have to, sacrifice to bring this Constitution back to a foundation and shore it up, only to hand it over to a bunch of people who really don't respect it and will never be able to maintain it because, again, there's no moral compass. I don't mind dying. I just don't want to die for nothing. I'll die for your right to have free speech, but make it valuable speech. Don't make it blather. Really. To me, it is so frustrating. Maybe that's why so many other people have just gone the way of corruption. They've just given up. Is that the case, America? Have you just given up? Is that why all the other guys who are out there and girls who are out there doing the radio talk circuit, who could be changing the world for the better, are almost sound more like it's a 3-hour infomercial about all the junk they sell and their books and their T-shirts and their appearances and all blah, blah, blah? Have they capitulated to the dark side? Is that where we are? Is our nation so far gone that there's nowhere to go? We can't go any lower because we've, for all intents and purposes, abdicated any connection whatsoever to honor, truth, respect, liberty, freedom. Everybody says freedom and everybody says liberty, but they're unwilling to fight for it, and they want to take it from somebody else in order to get it, because rather than create it and grow their own, it's just easier to steal it from someone else. Is that not what the illegal immigrants are doing here? They're coming across the border to steal something that this nation has grown and developed because they can't get it in their own home, They're unwilling to stand up and fight for it. I mean, if what we have here is so valuable to you, why don't you take over your own damn country? Really? Why don't you reform your own government and turn your nation into the utopian paradise that you perceive it to be, us to be? And then when you arrive here, why do you take the trash out of your pockets that, you were complaining about having to carry and litter everything around you with it and rub it in everybody's face and insist that everybody else enjoy it also? I don't want to be surrounded by liars and thieves and cutthroats and I really don't. To me, that ain't living. And if that's all this is about, is liars, thieves, and cutthroats, and how they can improve their own personal lot while all the rest of us should go hang, I don't know. Is it acceptable to be a liar so that you can get what you want? I mean, isn't integrity what you have when nobody's looking? You can't say you're an honest man if you're stealing out of the church pew plate when nobody's looking. You can't say you're a man of integrity if you're out cheating on your wife. Can't say you're a man of honor if you're elected to be a representative of people, but you stop and cease doing what is the right thing by those people you represent, and you start to do what's right for you. That's not honor. Can't be a teacher and raise up intelligent, well-rounded, well-educated students who you've been given a sacred trust when your real goal is to twist their minds into thinking how you view the world, to bias them, to feed them your Kool-Aid. What about just laying out the facts and saying, I'm not going to tell you how I think. Here's position A and here's position B. And I want you to use your critical thinking skills to determine which of those best fits you. And then explain why. But that's not what teachers are doing today, is it? We are a morally decadent society. And that is the true crux of our problem. It's not government. It's not the NSA. It's not the terrorists overseas. They claim to be moral and religious, but murder is murder, right? And I don't know any God that backs that. How do you claim to be a religious man when you're a murderer? Shooting a man in the back of the head who's tied up or handcuffed is murder. That's it. I mean, shooting a man in battle, that's perhaps something different. But taking someone a prisoner and handcuffing them and then shooting them in the back of the head like that video I posted for you yesterday, that's murder. And what God supports that? We're going to take a break. I know, I'm feeling very bummed out this morning because I look around me and I just feel like, sometimes it's all for naught. And I know a lot of folks listen and you're looking for me to give you, encouragement and strength. But there are days when I just can't give something I ain't got. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to tap onto our third segment, and that is the invisible army that Iran is pushing across our southern border. These are sleeper cells that are invading our porous border with the full knowledge and wisdom and, frankly, intent of our government, because it gives them plausible deniability to, when the attacks come, to say, we didn't do it, but now we got to clamp down on everyone for the protection. If you don't smell that coming, folks, you got to blow your nose. We'll be back in just a few moments. Stick with us. If you're listening to us live on stream, just wait a minute and click the button.